holders. They are people who help the company in raising finance. Yes, let us see the introduction. Now, while writing letters to debenture holders, the secretary of the company need to take certain precautions and need to enter into correspondence with them only after proper communication. When the debenture holder is to be notified, then the secretary need to correspond with him. So let us see little introduction about debenture holders. The capital of a company is raised by issuing shares or debentures to the public. We know this, right? Debentures and shares are two securities on which the capital of the company depends. Now, share capital owned, while debenture capital is borrowed. Yes, share capital becomes a permanent capital to the company. It is owned by the company. It belongs to them, belongs to the company. Whereas debenture capital is a borrowed capital. Underline the two terms here. Owned capital, borrowed capital. Underline share capital, underline debenture capital. Now, when we use the word borrowed, that means we are taking it from them. So we need to return to them. So it is like a debt. Yes, debenture is an acknowledgement of debt. Debenture capital is a borrowed capital. Underline this term debt, underline the term borrowed capital. Since we owe money to them, they are our creditors. So underline the term creditor over here. Now, compared to equity shares, debenture is considered safe and secured capital. This can be a true or false statement, right? Why debentures are considered safe and secured than shares? Reason over here, debentures are issued for a specific period. Okay, so limited period of time. After the time period is over, we pay off, the company pay off the debenture holders. It carries fixed rate of interest as a return on investment in debentures. Now, debenture holders get interest on debentures. Right? So it is a income giving document for the investor. Whereas for shares, the income is dividend and it is fluctuating depending upon the profit made by the company. So here we need to understand that if we invest as an investor, if we invest in debentures, it's a safe and secured capital because they get regular fixed rate of interest. Now, the secretary has to communicate the decisions of management and other information to debenture holders by conducting correspondence. Hence, the secretary need to take care that he needs to communicate to debenture holders regarding certain decisions of the management, how much management would like to pay the interest, or what are their policies regarding interest giving, right? So all these things the secretary need to communicate to the debenture holders. Here the secretary need to be very cautious and careful regarding communication with debenture holders. He cannot print any errors in the letter, because it becomes a legal document for the investor, a proof for the investor, whatever communication the company is conducting with the investor. Hence, proper care need to be taken. We will discuss this. Certificate of debenture should be issued within a period of 6 months. Underline this. It is always asked in match the following from the date of allotment of debentures. Once the debentures are allotted to the investor, within 6 months, the investor need to get the debenture certificate. So underline certificate of debenture or debenture certificate, period of 6 months. Now, a company cannot issue debentures to more than 500 people, underline this, without appointing a debenture trustee. So, if the company wants to take borrowed capital from many people, more than 500 people, then the company need to also appoint a debenture trustee. Now, debenture trustee is a person that will help the investors and also the company if there is any dispute or conflict to settle the matter. So appointment of debenture trustee becomes very, very important if there are any disputes, conflicts between the company and the investor. The investor here is our debenture holder. Now, precautions to be taken by the secretary while corresponding with debenture holders. Let us see what precautions the secretary need to take. Firstly, he need to be polite, right? Politeness. There should be courtesy because they are the creditors. With due respect, the debenture holder need to correspond with them. The tone of language in the letter should be courteous. Rude and harsh language should be strictly avoided because we are taking money from them, right? And also, in general, we should always be polite in our words and action. Next is prompt response. The secretary should promptly reply and respond to the queries and complaints of debenture holders. If there is any doubt, any question, any issue that the debenture holder is facing, then he need to communicate with the company. And once a communication is received by the company, then prompt reply or response also need to be given by the secretary of the company. Next is legal provisions. This is very, very important. Secretary need to follow all the statutory provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Whatever laws related to correspondence with debenture holders need to be taken care of. He should be cautious and careful while corresponding with debenture holders. I told you that this becomes an important matter if there is any dispute or conflict, that whatever is mentioned in the letter becomes a official record with the debenture holder. So he can use this letter in the court of law if any dispute takes place. Hence, corresponding with debenture holders is very, very important. Lastly, there should be even transparency. To maintain greater transparency with debenture holders, it is always necessary to disclose all the correct and accurate facts about the company, where the company stands, how much is the company in profit, how much is the company in debts, all the company affairs all these need to be properly disclosed to the debenture holders. Next is conciseness. The letter of debenture holders should be concise. Remember this word. You tend to forget this. Hence, concise means brief. Underline it. Concise, that is brief, short and to the point. Unnecessary and irrelevant information must be avoided. Next is precise information. The information given to the debenture holders should be factual and true. No false information should be given. Correct information should be provided. Next is secrecy. As a confidential officer of the company, the secretary should not disclose any important or secret information related to the company to the debenture holders. So here he need to write the letter in a short and to the point manner. Correct information to be given. Related to information about the company should be kept confidential with the company, right? Company information should be kept confidential and need not be told to the debenture holders. Also, the secretary need to take care about the image and goodwill of the company, which will help the investors to have faith in the company, and they can invest more money in the company if the goodwill of the company is good, right? If it is a good company, the investor will always be ready to invest again and again with the same company. Hence, that goodwill and good image need not be damaged. So, company also need to take care about its image and goodwill, because to create this goodwill takes n number of years, but to create damage, it will not even take a second. Since social media plays a very important role these days, so every company need to take care about their goodwill. Let us understand the circumstances under which the secretary has to enter into correspondence with debenture holders. Now, which are the occasions or which are the circumstances that the secretary need to correspond with debenture holders? These are some of the examples given in your textbook. There are many more occasions or circumstances, but the four which the board has given is informing the applicant about allotment of debentures, informing about payment of interest through. Now, previously, payment of interest would always be asked in board papers. Now, they have bifurcated here into two parts, that is interest warrant and electronic payment of interest. So, in this year, more weightage could be given to the new part, that is electronic payment of interest. Okay, we need to take care that this letter becomes very, very important. Next is letter for conversion of debentures into equity shares. And the fourth letter that we have is letter for redemption of debentures. Now let us first understand all these four types, and then we will go on to the letters. Now the homework for you will be, you are going to write all the four letters in your notebook as per the pattern given in the YouTube video. Okay. Now let us begin with the first one, allotment of debentures. Now, when a debenture holder allots or get the allotment letter, it is similar to the letter of allotment of issue of shares. So only little words are to be changed, and need to remember the two terms here is, if it is a debenture holder, then the word interest comes into the picture, and if it is a shareholder, then dividend comes into the picture. Students often make mistake in these two terms. So what is the question asked in the paper, that you thoroughly read, because generally it is equity shares which is asked, but if the word debenture appears, allotment of debentures, then you need to remember that you're writing the letter to the creditor of the company, to whom the company has to pay. Student normally make mistake in payment of interest, that they write as you have to pay interest. No, over here the company has to pay interest to the debenture holder. So that you keep in mind. So when we do that letter, I will discuss again. So regarding allotment of debentures, in this letter, we are going to understand that the company is allotting certain number of debentures to the investor. So the investor must have applied for the same. Hence, he is being allotted debentures. Okay. So let us see that letter now. Letter of allotment of debentures. When a company allots debentures to the applicant, Now the person has to apply. Remember, application of shares, same way application of debentures. So application form for debentures would be given by the company, which the investor needs to fill and pay if he gets letter of allotment of debentures from the company. So when a company allots debentures to the applicant, letter of allotment of debenture is sent to the debenture holders. This is very important statement. Now this letter of allotment is to be preserved. Underline the word preserved. Preserved by debenture holder as he gets debenture certificate in exchange of this letter. Please underline this. These are very important sentences. Letter of allotment of debentures becomes very important because he needs to give it back to the company. In exchange, he will get debenture certificate. Now, debenture certificate is a document which is a proof that the person has invested into debentures of the company, and all the details about the maturity amount, the interest amount, the period of debenture will be mentioned in the debenture certificate. Hence, it needs to be preserved by the debenture holder. Now, this letter, letter of allotment of debentures contains the details of issue of debentures. See, we will see here. All the details will be given in the box, right? Number of debentures applied, number of debentures allotted, distinctive number of debentures, amount received, types of debentures, rate of interest, maturity date, etc. So, whether this letter contains all this, you need to understand. So, whenever you make the letter, you need to remember that all this information is there or no in your letter. If all this information is there in your letter, then your letter is complete. So let us discuss this letter now. Now let us see. Here the name of the company and registered address is given. Yes. After that, on the next line, CIN number. Now, after CIN number, we are writing the phone and fax, and exactly opposite, we are writing website and email. Next, we are writing the reference number, and exactly opposite to it, we are writing the date. Right? The date has to be there on every letter and the reference number. Then we are writing the inside address to whom we are writing the letter. We over here means the company. Which is the company? Disha Industries Limited. So Disha Industries Limited company secretary is writing the letter to Mr. Vijay Mittal. Okay, where he is staying? He is staying in Nasik. Where is the company? The company is also in Nasik. Okay, after writing the inside address, we go on to the subject. We write down allotment of debentures. After the subject, we write the salutation. Salutation is dear sir. Now let us discuss the most important part, that is body of the letter. Now in the introductory para, what we are informing the investor? In response to your application. So you're writing in response to your application number. So the number on the application number, what the company has specified, that number he has put up. You can write any number over here. Dated 30th April 2019. Now remember here, your date of letter is 20th May. So application you must have written previously. So a previous date, then this date. 20th May 2019 ke pehle. Okay, so 30th April 2019. Just right, 1 month gap is there, and we are writing on that. We had applied on that date. So that date we are writing. So a previous date has to be written. I am directed by the board of directors to inform you that you have been allotted 100. So how many debentures are being given? 100. So number of debentures allotted is 100. 10% non-convertible secured debentures. This is important. What type of debentures are these? Non-convertible. Non-convertible means they are not converted into equity shares. And they are secured debentures. Secured means they create a charge on the assets of the company. So if anything happens to the company and the company is not able to pay, then some of the asset of the company is sold and whatever money comes will be paid off to this debenture holder. So secured means they create a charge on the assets of the company of 100 each. So what is the value of one debenture? 100 rupees. Okay. The tenure of debentures is for 5 years. So the time period given is 5 years. So for 5 years, 10% non-convertible secured debentures are issued of 100 each. Now these debentures are allotted to you as per the board resolution. Remember, board resolution they have discussed and they have passed at board meeting held on 16th May. So this date will be after this date and before this date. So 3 dates have come here. You can see this is the date of the letter. The meeting is conducted before this date and the meeting date is 16th May 2019. And when you had applied, 30th April. So you need to remember how you write your dates. 30th April you had applied to the company, the debenture holder had applied to the company. Then the meeting took place and after the meeting, the decision was taken by the board directors and then allotment letter as per their discretion and decision was given to the debenture holder. Here the debenture holder is Mr. Vijay Mittal. Now, as per the terms and conditions of articles of association of the company and debenture trust deed. See, these are the legal terms that they have been used in this letter. So, how they have allotted you the debentures as per the articles of association of the company and as per the debenture trust deed. So there is no secrecy here and they have passed a board resolution. So considering all the board of directors, they know that so many number of debentures are being issued in the name of Mr. Vijay Mittal. Okay. Now, sometimes the student don't remember this box, what to write. So just understand the details that you write in the first 2 paragraphs. That only detail you have to put in the box. Okay. Now I'll give you an easy technique to remember. There are only 4 letters. Out of it, one important one I told you, electronic. But we can not say which can exactly be asked. So just to be prepared with all the letters, I'll give you a technique to remember this. First is folio number. So D90 they have given, right? D90, that is the letter number, some folio number which the company keeps for referencing or for its filing purpose, the folio number. Then is number of debentures applied. Number of debentures allotted. This is the same like issue of shares. So number of shares applied and number of shares allotted. So over here number of debentures applied, number of debentures allotted. Now since they are allotted 100, so the distinctive number will be in a gap of 100. So यहाँ पे क्या है 301 to 400 and amount received is 10,000. So since 100 and of 100 each, so 100 into 100 you get this amount. Yes, 10,000. How is this 10,000 come? Because your one debenture is of 100 each. So this amount you get from here, this information given. Your debenture is 100 each. How many debentures you got? 100. So 100 into 100, the amount received is 10,000. Now, this is technically whatever information you put up in the first paragraph or the second paragraph, that only you need to show it in a tabular way. Now, easy way. Once you remember what details you have to put, like folio number, that is the first thing. Okay, how we write reference number, that way folio number. Debenture applies, debenture allotted. From this number to this number and total amount. So there are only 5 criterias. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now how to remember this in case if you forget. Now another technique is, suppose you don't know what to write the body of the letter. Just remember the box and accordingly frame your sentences and write the body of the letter. Right? Over here. Now easy way to remember. Now this is a technique. Just a technique to make you remember. 90, 100, 100, 300, 400, 10,000. So 90, 100, 100. 300, 400, 10,000. So this is just a technique. In case if you don't remember, the allotment of debentures letter 90, 100. We say no 10, 20, 30, 40. We play that game, right? Same way you remember like this. So 90, 100, 100, 100 because applied and allotted is same. So 90, 100, 300, 400, 10,000. Just remember this 6 numbers here. And you can entirely frame your body of the letter and even the table. So this way this letter will become easier for you to remember. This is just a technique because normally students write anything in this box. So just to make it more accurate, a small technique is being shared. It is okay. You can use your own technique or you can, rather than memorizing, I would prefer you understand the concept and write. Okay. So then you, after making the tabular form, you will write the debenture certificate is enclosed herewith. So as allotment is done, money is received, the investor is getting a debenture certificate. So we are saying in the letter that debenture certificate is enclosed, right? So an enclosure will come thanking you. So when you use these words, is enclosed herewith, that means remember that an enclosure should be there in your letter after the complimentary clause. If you forget to write enclosure debenture certificate and you have mentioned here, then your marks can get cut. That means the student has not followed all the parts of the letter. So if you write is enclosed herewith, you have to write the enclosure debenture certificate. Right? So after thanking you, we'll give a greeting, closure greeting to the investor, and then we will give a complimentary clause, and we will write the sign. We have to write SD. Okay, we are not going to put a hand signature there. And Mr. Avinash Nattu, company secretary. Now this is the company secretary name. Okay. So company secretary is writing on behalf of the board of directors and the company to the investor, Mr. Vijay Mittal. Vijay Mittal has invested or purchased the debentures of the company, and he has got an allotment of debentures letter from the company. Hence, this letter is being given already. The company will write this letter to the next letter, that is payment of interest. This is the most important letter, always asked in the board exams. And this was also there in the previous syllabus as well. So let us understand the payment of interest letter. Now I will move little quicker because we have completed. You have understood the techniques of how you need to remember. Either remember the box and then frame your body of the letter, or remember the body of the letter and make your tabular column in the letter. Now payment of interest. Now on debentures, the income the investor gets is interest. So here it's an income to the investor, and every year they get fixed rate of interest. Hence they are investing in debentures, because the investor feels that yearly income is better than risky income of dividend, which is fluctuating. Okay, so debenture certificate is a loan or borrowed capital of the company. Again, this term has come, so underline it. Debenture holders are the creditors, and they get fixed rate of interest as a return on their investment in debentures. Interest is a debt. See, again, you underline this. These are all things which are asked in the objectives part. So please remember all these simple sentences, but they hold marks, so they are very important. It does not depend upon profits. Company pays interest through interest warrant. This is very important term. Company is paying interest through interest warrant sent along with the letter. So along with the letter, interest warrant is given. So when payment of interest letter is there, you need to understand that just writing the letter is not enough. You also need to write the interest warrant specimen also, because it is sent along with this letter. This letter contains details of such as, now all these details should be there, okay, in your letter. What are they? Number of debentures, distinctive number, gross amount of interest payable, tax deducted at source, net amount of interest payable. Board's resolution is required for passing the interest on debentures. See, any letter coming from the company, a decision is taken in board meeting. So always this is a common statement for all the letters. Board resolution is passed or board meeting is conducted. Okay. So this is very, very important. So company pays interest through interest warrant or electronically. Now the preferred mode is electronically. Okay. Because it is quick, fast, no time consumption here. Time is saved and it directly reflects into the account of the investor. So a demat account for the same is open, right? Now, interest warrant, payment of interest through interest warrant. So this letter is about paying interest to the debenture holder. Okay, so Rolta India Limited, again the name of the company, registered address, CIN number. See, as per the company, the CIN number is, it cannot be same. Okay, so one name of the company and one CIN number you can memorize if you wish to. Otherwise, the technique will soon be shared with me. Okay, now again phone, fax, reference number, date. Then you have Mrs. Dia Saluja. Now she is the recipient of interest. That means she is our debenture holder. So subject is very important. It brings the attention of the reader why this letter is being sent to him. Yes, so subject, payment of interest on debentures. What are we informing the debenture holder? That we are paying interest to him, right? Oh, in this case it is her. Dear madam, we have given the salutation and then we say, I am directed to inform you that the Board of Directors has passed a resolution in the board meeting on 5th June 2019 regarding payment of interest on your 10% non-convertible debentures of 100 each. See, debenture holders के letter में ये common point है. 10% non-convertible debentures of 100 each. So you can keep this statement common and remember it. Okay. So they have posted a resolution and the board meeting is held on 5th June. Now this date will be before the letter date. Okay. Now again folio number, number of debentures 100 है, तो again a 100 का gap, 601 to 700. Gross amount of interest. Now this amount need not be a big amount. It has to be a little smaller amount. Remember this. People write over here big amount. That is wrong. Interest amount cannot be very big. It is a reasonable small amount. So here it is given 1000. Now TDS on 10% on interest is nil. Why? Because this amount is less than 5,000. If it is more than 5,000, then TDS is deducted. So you need to remember that the amount of interest should be less than 5,000. Okay? Otherwise, the tax deduction will take place. So always keep this as an easy and simple number. Don't write complicated numbers. So 1,000 rupees we have mentioned over here because it is 10%. No? Now net amount of interest is 1,000. The same number will come. What you write here will come here. And interest warrant number is like the interest warrant number that gets printed as per the company's number. So any number you can write. So this can be any number. This amount and this amount need to be same. Again, you remember the folio number also can be any number, any alphanumerical you can keep. Number of debentures is 100 because as per our letter, 100 debentures we have received. Distinctive number, to number of debentures 100 is there. Then any gap of distinctive numbers of 100 you can keep. So gross, what you need to remember is amount of interest is 1,000, TDS is 0, nil, and net interest. If there is any amount, then 4 minus 5 will come to 6 that way. So over here 1,000 minus 0 is 1,000. Okay, we are not writing the same amount here. It is 1,000 minus nil is 1,000. Okay, and then interest warrant number. Now the interest warrant is enclosed herewith. Again the word enclosed herewith. That means you have to show an enclosure. Okay, please detach the interest warrant along the perforated line. That means in your letter, when the allotment letter is received, there is a perforated line. Okay, which is to be torn, and the letter of debentures is given to the company and the debenture certificate is received. Okay, so your interest warrant is as an enclosure. Then again we write thanking you. We do a closing greeting for the receiver. And then we write the complimentary clause, yours faithfully, the signature of the company secretary.